Viewer beware, you're in for a scare.
Face to face with a nightmare. How ugly is Carly Beth's Halloween mask? It's so ugly that it almost scared her little brother to death. So terrifying that even her friends are totally freaked out by it. It's the best Halloween mask ever. It's everything Carly Beth hoped it would be, and more. Maybe too much more. Because Halloween is almost over, and Carly Beth is still wearing that mask.
This podcast is not suitable for children or those who are easily disturbed. Spoiler warning for whatever is in the title of this episode.
And now for the obligatory socials. Please like, share and subscribe. You can find the podcast on Twitter at HorrorPod69. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Slasher and Goodreads. Become part of the Disturbed community by asking for the Facebook group and Discord links. Send dick pics to the Horror of Babylon podcast at gmail.com. Support the show at patreon.com/the Horror of Babylon. In closing, you can let your friends know that The Horror of Babylon is available on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible and all other major podcast apps.
Welcome to episode 133 of The Horror of Babylon, where we discuss The Haunted Mask by R.L. Stine. I'm Ryan. With me, as always, is Daniel. Say hello, Daniel.
I'm ready for a scare.
Oh! Some people I also hope are ready for a scare are our patrons. Thank you to Abigail the First, Breaker of Chains, Mother of Dragons, and
Logan,
the Full Metal Patron, and Ben, the Fourth Patron of Hope, and Mia the Fifth, the Rainmaker.
She makes it rain.
Oh, she makes it rain. And Sierra the Sixth, the Keyblade Patron. And thank you to Four Horsemen Comics and Gaming, which you can visit at the Morgantown Mall in Morgantown, West Virginia, the Mall at Robinson in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. You can shop online at fourhorsemen.tcgplayerpro.com. If you do make it in the store, say hello to the proprietor, Ronald III, Grapus Christmas. I'll tell you how I met Ron. It was Halloween, and everything else was closed, but I needed a scary comic book to read on Halloween. And I walked past the store, which was obviously closed, but I really wanted this comic book, and I was standing by the door, and he let me in. And I remember thinking to myself, he's wearing a cape. He's probably just wearing that because it's Halloween.
Do you remember when we first started playing Magic, and there was that one dude who came to wearing a cape?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
just all the time.
If I can remember, Edna Mole, no capes.
I used to wear a fedora all the time. And a trench coat. I need to shut the fuck up about people's fashion sense when they're younger.
Yeah. I already told you this, but I'll mention it since we're recording. I almost ran off the road the other day because I passed somebody walking down the street who was wearing a red leather fedora. And dress clothes, and it was like 80 degrees.
That's me from the timeline where I never had sex.
Oh. I'm glad Steve went back in time and changed that one. Thank you, Captain America.
Daniel's much happier.
Maybe you do vanilla stuff to me in bed, but you got Daniel laid. All right, trigger warning, bullying. I think that's about it.
Yeah, I have a very specific type of bullying, but we can get into that when we're getting into stuff.
People who pretend to be your friends but are actually bullies.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I have a whole tangent.
Yeah, no, they're shitty. They get theirs in the Haunted Mask too.
Yeah.
All right, so our history with the Haunted Mask. Go ahead.
When I was younger and the Goosebumps show came out, I saw the Haunted Mask episode and it terrified me. I had it on VHS and I watched it so much that it got worn out.
We also had it on VHS, and I also remember watching it a ton. I know we had the Haunted Mask 2 on cassette, the audiobook on cassette, and we listened to it a ton. I thought I had read this one. I'm thinking maybe I didn't read it, I can't be positive, but as I was reading it, I was remembering everything that happens. But that may be just be because I watched the episode of the show so many times, and there are only like a couple differences that I remember.
There's some minor differences, but we can get into that when we watch the TV show.
And if you missed our Night of the Living Dummy episode, we've added a segment of the show where we discuss the covers.
I love this section.
This one has a lot too. So if you're listening, I will tell you, if you're listening to an audio version, I'll tell you which one we're looking at so you can Google it. And then obviously, if you're watching on YouTube, it'll just be there. So we're going to start with the original cover with art by Tim Jacobus.
It's a classic.
It's a classic, one of the most iconic ones. I just love, even just like the complimentary, like blue and orange coloring, and the image itself is just, I mean, it's great. It's perfect.
It's very effective.
Now we're going to go to the American reprint, and typically these ones I think are generally weaker, but I actually like this one quite a bit.
It's not too bad.
Hiya! Happy Easter!
I just think like the blood red sky and the full blood red moon, and like the darkened faces on the kids who are about to get attacked by Carly Beth, like I think it's really good.
I think it could have benefited from the head on a stick.
Yeah, it's funny because like the Goosebumps wiki is actually a pretty decent wiki and very detailed. Although I read the blurb on this cover and it was actually incorrect. It says that these two boys here on the cover are Chuck and Steve, but they're not. They're the two kids that Carly Beth scares when they go to the first house.
Yeah.
Because
Chuck and Steve didn't put any effort in their costumes.
Yeah, and they said like those kids were dressed up as a clown and one had an Indiana Jones fedora.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like the artist who drew this read the book and knew what they were doing. Okay, so now we're going to the UK cover.
All right. Something.
It's something.
Is she pointing a gun at me?
I don't know. The first thing, when I saw this, the first thing I thought was like snoutless alligator.
Yeah. And I get that you want to show us the hair so we know it's a girl.
Yeah.
But we couldn't see, no one could see her hair because the mask covered her whole head.
Yeah. I mean, like, look at this one. Like, if you hadn't read the book, I mean, maybe you would think that that's a boy, but what does it matter?
Yeah, I mean, she's 10.
Yeah. She's 12.
She's super young.
So, yeah, I mean, and if you read it, you know that's Carly Beth, so, like, who cares? All right, so now the French cover, which I like this one.
Yeah, that's kind of terrifying, too.
I think it's actually pretty spooky. Like, honestly, if I saw that in person, I think I would be more afraid than if I saw any of the other ones we looked at so far. It's almost like a Boris Karloff-esque Frankenstein's monster.
You know what's kind of weird is, I don't know how much you remember of the TV show, but you remember how all the other masks looked? Mm-hmm. And the one that Carly Beth takes it's always stood out to me like, well, the other ones look like deformed people, and Carly Beth's actually looks like a monster.
Yeah.
This one kind of looks like it would fit in more with the other masks on the shelf. Even though it doesn't quite fit the description, but it looks like it would fit in on it.
And now the second French cover, because they did multiple.
Okay.
This one is
not as good.
Not as good, but is not bad.
Still gets the point across.
Yeah. And then the Dutch cover, which I also think this one is pretty decent.
Yeah.
I like that you don't actually see the mask.
I don't know why I interpreted it this way, but the way this is like framed, it looks like a dude is putting his girlfriend in front of danger to protect himself.
Yeah. So actually, when I saw this, you know what? I thought this could have been a cover for. Shit, I'm total blank. Vampire. Let the right one in.
Yeah.
Because this is the pedophile dude who's
that
been
came back after being all fucked up.
Yeah, and then these are the two kids.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the Vietnamese cover.
Okay.
Yeah. Also getting kind of Pennywise-ish vibes from this one.
Very, very much so.
Yeah. And the Korean cover, which goes in a completely different direction from all the others.
That was kind of just cute.
Yeah. Rawr, I'm a monster.
Like, you could write like a little manga or something and call it My Little Monster.
Well,
and that could be the character.
Drake used to watch this cartoon on Netflix called Super Monsters.
Yeah.
Have you seen that at all?
Mm-mm.
It's a pre-K show about a preschool where monsters go, and there's a werewolf and there's a Frankenstein's monster, and like it reminds me of that show. That show always triggered me so hard because there's one of them is a baby Cleopatra. Like, one, Cleopatra is not, I mean, okay, Cleopatra kind of was a monster, but she's not the kind of monster that you're showing in this show. And also, how can she be a baby Cleopatra? Like, just make her a mummy.
They didn't want us to confuse it with the Scooby-Doo show, that movie.
And there's also, like, the zombie just had blue skin and rainbow curly hair, and her zombie powers was her, like, hair extended, and she could tangle up people in her hair. Like, what? If you...
She should have been able to throw her head.
Yeah. Like, you could think of better monsters than these. Like, I mean, come on.
The vampire's a pure myth, superstition.
I may be able to bring you proof that the superstition of yesterday can become the scientific reality of today.
Jumping into background, this book was written by R.L. Stine, was published in September of 1993. It's the first of 2 Haunted Mask books in the original Goosebumps series. The Haunted Mask 2 was published in 1995. It's the first of 4 overall Haunted Mask books. The third one was published in the Goosebumps Horrorland series in 2008. It was titled The Scream of the Haunted Mask. And the fourth one was published in the Goosebumps Most Wanted series in 2012 and is also just called The Haunted Mask, which I was clicking around on Goodreads on those, and I read a scathingly bad review of that fourth one.
Oh, yeah.
It started like, I am a huge R.L. Stine fan. I love him to death. This book is terrible. It's kind of funny. According to R.L. Stine, his inspiration was one Halloween, his son Matthew Stine had got a mask stuck on his head and couldn't get it off, so that inspired him to write the story. He also says that apparently this is his favorite book, and this is the one that he's most proud of writing, and he would also like to see a film adaptation of this book, or possibly a film adaptation that combines The Haunted Mask and The Haunted Mask 2. Because if you haven't read The Haunted Mask 2, it involves the same characters. That one's primarily about Chuck and Steve, and then Carly, Beth, and Sabrina also show up in it. The Haunted Mask was adapted into a 2-part episode of the Goosebumps TV series. In fact, it is Season 1, Episode 1, and Season 1, Episode 2 of Goosebumps 1995. And there is an upcoming adaptation. The Goosebumps graphic novel series is releasing a Haunted Mask adaptation in September of 2024.
I kind of want that.
And I think the cover is awesome.
Yeah, that is a little girl ready for revenge.
Yeah. I love it. I kind of want to get it and read it. Maybe we could do a bonus episode on it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Looks really cool.
And that's that. Another story in the classic, infallible 3-act structure. Good enough for Aristotle, good enough for The Simpsons.
Mr. Sislak, I have a feeling there's going to be one more act to this story.
Well, I'm not hanging around for that. 4 acts.
Structure and themes. So, I feel like everything we said in the Beast from the East episode, we're just casually like walking back. Because we're like, oh, R.L. Stine doesn't have themes. R.L. Stine doesn't develop characters.
This has all of that.
Carly Beth is a well-developed character with a real arc. There's a real theme, and she learns a real lesson. This book is about revenge.
Yeah.
It's about bullying. It's about revenge. And as I was reading it, I was thinking, like, is there a better children's story that's purely about revenge?
I don't think so.
I even went as far as, like, I was Googling children's books about revenge, and I was looking through all these lists, and I was like, I couldn't find anything. I'm going to be up this book's butt a little bit.
Same. It's also a book that's very heavily about identity.
Yeah.
Not just how you perceive yourself, but how you want others to perceive you.
Which is very appropriate considering the main cast is all middle school students.
Yeah. Very literally putting on a mask for other people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because Carly Beth doesn't want to be perceived as the scaredy cat.
Yeah.
And she's willing to do things that she wouldn't naturally want to do because she's a very nice and kind and considerate person.
This was something I even thought, like, when I watched the TV show, and I was thinking when I was reading this, there are some things where I'm like, I don't think that has anything to do with being a scaredy cat. That's just absolutely cruel and disgusting what you just did to this poor girl.
Yeah.
Like, I even thought that as a kid. I think that now. The worm in the sandwich thing, that's the biggest one. Like, it's not that she was scared. She literally just let her eat a worm.
It's gross.
That is fucking horrible.
When I watched and read this as a kid, definitely watched, I don't think I perceived the bullying like I was supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I was just not aware of bullying as a kid like the way I'm aware of bullying now after being a parent, a teacher, an adult. But, like, these kids, Chuck and Steve, like, they're her friends, but they're just straight up bullying her.
I unfortunately was aware because I was basically the Carly Beth in at least 2 different friend groups. In terms of tropes, it's called being the whipping boy.
Mm-hmm.
It's the character that exists to be bullied in a group. Yeah, there's the one that the people take their frustrations out on, that they mess with because they're easy to mess with, and the whipping boy sticks around because at least they can say they have friends.
Not in elementary school, but we actually did have a person like that in our friend group in middle school and high school, and I didn't really like become aware of it until like I was probably like a senior in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And things got better between he and I towards the end, but then he died as a freshman in college, so I never really got to really make that better.
That's so bad. I'm so sorry.
He had very abusive, like, his mom reminded me of the mom from Carrie a lot.
Ooh.
Like, she wouldn't let him leave the house. She was hyper Christian. He became very like repressed. Like he really just had like books and video games to escape in, and did like lots of stupid stuff in school for attention because
I wouldn't know anything about that.
And then of course when he went to college and got his freedom, he went nuts with like drinking, and he was drinking by a pool and fell in and drowned. When Hef's here, we'll pour out a beer for Adrian. But yeah. He was an Adrian too.
All right.
Yeah. Revenge, bullying.
I'm trying to figure out.
And identity.
I'm trying to figure out why I keep identifying with young girls in stories.
No, I mean, Carly Beth is like one of the most easily identifiable, like relatable. She's one of the easily relatable, like protagonists in a children's novel. Like there is, like
I really relate to her. I really relate to Carrie.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
So let's go to characters. Honestly, we probably just said a lot of the stuff that
For Carly Beth.
Yeah, but she's great. She has a real arc. Like you see, like she learns a lesson, and she gets punished for just. Obviously, you shouldn't seek revenge, and that's one of the morals of this story. But she's a kid, and she's mad and upset, and she doesn't know how to deal with it. So she tries to get revenge on her quote-unquote friends, and she gets punished for it hard.
I don't think we have given R.L. Stine here enough credit on how well he can write children.
Mm-hmm.
And what made me realize, does this guy actually understand child psychology? Was when Carly Beth's talking to her mom, right?
Mm-hmm.
And her mom's like, "Oh, I made you the duck costume," because Carly Beth had mentioned something about it, and the mom pays attention.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that 99% of the time Carly Beth probably would have loved, but because of the specific thing that happened that day, she never wanted it.
Yeah.
Because that's how kids... That's how kids act. That's how some adults act.
I have done that with Halloween costumes in my kids.
Yeah.
You said you wanted this. No, I didn't really.
Yeah, 100%. And then I have never felt that way. Okay. And I'm sitting there like, man, R.L. Stine can also write kids as kids.
Yes.
Not just as kid stereotypes.
So, The Beast from the East was the first one we did, and that's a fun book. But I think we kind of unluckily picked one of the, I don't want to say less deep, but one that we picked a book that was more set piece driven than character and story driven.
Yeah.
And then, we said a lot of stuff in that episode that
we've had to walk back twice so far.
Yeah. And I'm excited that we're going to read a bunch more of these so that maybe by the end of the summer we'll have like a better understanding of what like a typical Goosebumps book is like.
It also might be part of like how quick he was cranking some of these out.
Yeah. He wrote these like monthly, I believe. Yeah, which is crazy. I mean, grant they're short, but still like, so a character we haven't spoken a lot about, Sabrina Mason, Carly Beth's best friend,
is also low-key a piece of shit.
I think it's a little harsh to call her a fair weather friend, but she's definitely leaning in that direction.
What really, and again, this is what really made me identify with Carly Beth even more, was when she admitted she knew that Chuck and Steve were going to scare her and didn't say anything. Was like, oh, it just made me think back to everything else that happens. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, so she's just always kind of been in on it.
Well, she's kind of an enabler.
Yeah.
But what got me was she also rationalizes their behavior to Carly Beth.
Mm-hmm.
She says, "Oh yeah, it's bad, it's dumb, they shouldn't have done that." But come on, it was funny.
Yeah, it was funny. You have to admit it.
It was kind of funny.
But being such a pussy, that's the dude equivalent that you get.
Yeah. I try to okay, this girl's 12 years old. I did really dumb and stupid shit when I was 12 years old.
Same.
So, she has a chance to grow up and realize this is dumb. But at this point in time reading this book, like, Carly Beth deserves some better friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what you need to do, Carly Beth, but these people don't have your best
interests
in mind.
Yeah.
All right, Chuck and Steve. Those little shits.
They are little shits.
If you wanted to defend them at all, it would sound like a middle school version of the old boys club saying something like, "Oh, they're little shits, but boys will be boys." Something like that. I'm
fine with the boys will be boys when it's screaming boo behind a girl.
Yeah.
I am not okay with feeding somebody a worm.
I agree.
The saying, "Oh, there's a spider loose," and then pinching somebody or just poking them or dropping a fake spider on them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the prank I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Maybe don't do it when they're carrying shit.
Yeah.
But again, the fucking worm is so over the top compared to everything else.
Technically, you're basically poisoning somebody.
Yeah. It's fucked. And now she's just going to be worm breath for the rest of middle school.
Yeah. Ugh.
Like, tell me I'm wrong. That's exactly where that would go.
No, you're completely right.
So...
And it gives off a sense that it's kind of a smaller town with like a small, not a real small school, but like, you're with the same group of kids from like 1st grade to 12th grade. So if you like get stuck with like a stupid nickname like that, it can like ruin your whole life.
Yeah.
Or your whole school life.
Yeah.
But don't worry. Chuck and Steve are going to get there soon.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope they die.
I don't think they die.
Yeah, that's probably an overreaction.
And again, like, they are kids. They can grow up and they can do better. But I am not going to rationalize or defend bullying because it's not okay and it's just got to be nipped in the bud. Cycle's got to stop somewhere.
The buck stops with me.
Yeah. No bullying. 0 tolerance. Okay. The Shopkeeper, and that is his name on the wiki, the official Goosebumps wiki. He's the Shopkeeper.
I like that he wears a cape.
I like that he wears a cape too. I was disappointed that he wasn't wearing a cape when she went back the second time.
I'm trying to remember a quote from Bobby Hill, something about "Can I wear a cape?"
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but I don't remember. I can't remember the episode circumstances.
Because ever since I've read this, I've been looking for that clip because I wanted to send it to you and turn it into a meme.
I think that, like, we'll get into this in the adaptation episode, but I have a small gripe with this. It may only be because how I remember it's happened in how it happened in the TV show. I'll just say it. In the TV show, I'm pretty sure she steals the mask and she like throws the money at him and runs out and steals it.
That 100% happens.
And in this, like, he kind of protests, but then he lets her have it.
He's sitting there and he's like, $30 is $30.
And to me, like, you know it's an evil mask. Like, unless you're a straight up villain, why are you letting this girl walk out with it?
It's $30.
Which I feel like when somebody sat down to adapt this for TV, they had the same thought, and that's why they made the easy. She steals it.
I actually think there are a bunch of things in the TV show that are actually better.
That was kind of the big one of the two big ones that I had thought of. But I do like, generally speaking, I like he's just the mysterious shop owner who has a fucking back room with all these terrifying masks of dead people's faces.
I made them in my lab. Honestly, that's like the one thing I probably would have taken out of the book is I would not have mentioned an evil laboratory. I would just let it been. I just have these masks.
Yeah, but that feels like a very R.L. Stine Goosebumpsy kind of thing. Like,
just something about him just being a scientist who also made faces.
Because a lot of like Goosebumps like stay out of the basement. Their dad has a lab in the basement. It's
all mad scientists.
Yeah. But no, I think I agree with, like, just in a general sense. Yeah, it would have been better to leave that up to your imagination.
Kill you all! I'll drive you crazy, and I'll kill you all! I'm every nightmare you ever had. I am your worst dream come true. I'm everything you ever were afraid of.
Okay, scary shit. Did this book give you goosebumps?
Yes, because it specifically appealed to a bunch of my fears, including things getting stuck on my face.
That was the thing that got me the most, just because I don't consider myself a claustrophobic person, but like I do have a thing about my face being covered by something that I can't get off.
So when we went to the haunted asylum last Halloween, I was high out of my skull. Only on one gummy. I don't know what happened, but there's this place where they stick you, and it's like this thick. No one can see this, but it's not very thick.
Oh, it's so thick. It's not so very thick.
So you're squeezed into this tiny little room, and then they go, you're sentenced to death by a gas chamber, and then they kill you with by dumping balls on you, like the what you would find in a ball pit.
That doesn't sound super fun.
So like you're filled, and it completely covers your head.
No thanks.
And
thanks.
But I normally
you were high.
I was so high. All of a sudden, I was like, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. And I start trying to dig my way out. And I start having a panic attack.
So, when Emma was a toddler, she used to throw these gargantuan tantrums. And one thing she would always yell is, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. And I would always yell back, if you can talk, you can breathe. So I just imagine me in this ball pit with you, and you going, I can't breathe, I can't, and me yelling, if you can talk, you can breathe.
I wasn't saying it, though. It was all in my head.
Okay. I bet you were saying it, and you didn't even realize it.
Maybe. And then there's another part where they put you in a coffin and roll you into a different room.
Nope. No thanks.
And then they're beating on top of it.
No thanks.
While they're rolling you around.
I think it might be fun to work at a place like that.
But I was not okay. By the time I got out of there, Ryan, I was like this. And like Carrie was behind me the whole time, and she's like, hey, maybe the dude with the balled up fist shouldn't be leading the group.
Yeah, because you might strike somebody.
I fell through a wall when we were there.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, it's stuff on my face, no.
Nope.
And then the bullying thing I found super goosebumpsy because it's giving me flashbacks.
Yeah, it was not cool.
Oh my god, are you Stephen King? No, I'm Dean Koontz. Oh.
Kings and Koontz, Daniel, what is your king for the haunted mask?
Carly Beth. I love everything about her. I want her to have the best life.
I would say Carly Beth and the mask. Yeah. Koontz. I think that her stealing the mask just makes it so much easier and makes it so much more digestible, but it's a really small nitpicky thing.
Yeah, my only real nitpick was that he made the masks in a lab, and I liked the idea of it being just not explained better. Or them just being haunted masks he's collected.
Okay, rankings. I'll go ahead. I didn't rank this ahead of time. I think this is the best one we've read so far. I don't think it's quite like, in terms of nostalgia, like Slappy and Night of the Living Dummy, like as a character group is more nostalgic for me, but just like as a book, I think this is the best one that we've read so far.
Yeah.
Where are you putting that bad boy?
Pretty high. God, I was gonna put it in my top 10, but I can't justify it above some of these placements.
Yeah.
Right above Cujo, because Cujo depressed me too much.
Yeah. So it's your new number 17, below the Great God Pan and above Cujo.
Which is still pretty high.
Yeah. And then just for reference, your Night of the Living Dummy is your number 30, and The Beast from the East is your number 40. Okay, it's going to be my new number 24, above The Hellbound Heart and below The Scarlet Plague. And just for reference, I have Night of the Living Dummy at 30 and The Beast from the East at 39. Homework! You're Carly Beth, but you choose a different mask. Describe the mask you chose. I'll give you a minute, because I already have them. So, you know the monster from Harry Potter, the Boggart, that it appears as whatever you're most afraid of.
Yeah.
So I choose, and you know those ridiculous like president's masks. They have like the Nixon mask and the Trump mask and the Obama mask. So mine combines the two, where it's a president's mask, but it appears to the person who sees it to be whatever president you hate most. So, if you went into the Democratic National Convention, like everybody there would just see you in a Donald Trump mask wherever you're walking around. But
my mask is going to be it's very dark. Mm-hmm. But its effect is people just accuse you of being in blackface the whole time and cancel you on Halloween. I farted.
I'm leaving that in.
Yeah.
Not your answer. I'm cutting all that out, but I'll leave the fart in.
I can't even. I stole that from Smiling Friends.
Okay.
They accuse the monster of being in blackface and then kill it.
I don't know that I really have anything for further reading. Just
more Goosebumps books.
Yeah, more Goosebumps books, and watch the TV show. All right, upcoming on the Horror of Babylon, this coming Sunday, July 7th, we're doing a watch-along of the first 2 episodes of the Goosebumps TV series, which are an adaptation of The Haunted Mask. And then the following Sunday, July 14th, we're reading our next book, which will be The Werewolf of Fever Swamp by R.L. Stine. On July 4th, Four Horsemen is sponsoring us to watch and review Independence Day with Will Smith and Bill Pullman and Jeff Goldblum. And then the following Thursday, we will be watching and reviewing, hopefully, the final in Ty West's infamous Mia Goth trilogy, Maxine. Hoping it'll be a trilogy, not a quadrilogy, but you know.
Depends on how much money this one makes.
Yeah, I mean, if he keeps making money, people keep going to see it. Like, I'm going to see it. Like, I can't fault him for making more.
Yeah.
And speaking of people who can't fault us, thank you to our patrons, including Abigail the First, Breaker of Chains, Mother of Dragons, and
Logan,
the Full Metal Patron, and Ben, the Fourth Patron of Hope, and Mia the Fifth, the Rainmaker.
Make the rain, yo.
And thank you to Sierra the Sixth, the Keyblade Patron. And thank you to Four Horsemen Comics and Gaming, which you can visit at the Morgantown Mall in Morgantown, West Virginia, the Mall at Robinson in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. You can shop online at fourhorsemen.tcgplayerpro.com. And if you make it into the store, say hello to Ronald III, Grandpas of Christmas, and ask him, hey, where'd you get that snazzy cape? And he'll tell you that it was his baby blanket that he could never part with. So when he grew up, he turned it into a cape so he wouldn't be a man walking around with his baby blanket. And you'd be like, that's smart, mature adult thinking, Ron. Good job.
I really wish we had, like, 500 more subscribers just so that people would piece together your Ron lore.
Be like, who the fuck is this guy?
That's all I... If we were just popular enough to have somebody go, I want to piece together the Ron lore, I would be content.
Had, like, some random listener in Detroit who's just like, fuck it. I'm driving to West Virginia. I'm going to this store, and I'm going to meet this man.
Yeah.
He can't be as messed up as this guy says.
He's worse.
He's worse. All right, well, thank you for reading the Haunted Mask and recording with me tonight.
It was a good time.
And thank you to our patrons. Stay tuned for our socials and stay scary.
Stay scary, everybody.
And now for the obligatory socials. Please like, share, and subscribe. You can find the podcast on Twitter at HorrorPod69. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Slasher, and Goodreads. Become part of the Disturbed community by asking for the Facebook group and Discord links. Send dick pics to the Horror of Babylon podcast at gmail.com. Support the show at patreon.com/the Horror of Babylon. In closing, you can let your friends know that the Horror of Babylon is available on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, and all other major podcast apps. Stay scary.